Welcome back to Power in the Pause. I'm your host, Chelsea, and this is the space where we slow down, reflect, and create more intentional lives, one pause at a time. If you've been listening along, you know we're all about growth, self awareness, healing, and becoming more of who we really are. And today's conversation might step on a few toes, mine included, because we're talking about independence, and more specifically, when independence becomes a wall. Okay, sis, now before anyone starts clutching their pearls, let me be clear. Women becoming independent is a beautiful thing. We should be able to support ourselves, make our own decisions. We should be able to create fulfilling lives that don't depend on someone else rescuing us. Go off, sis. Buy the house, travel solo, build a business, heal the wounds, learn yourself, create a life you're proud of. Abso-fucking-lutely. But somewhere along the way, I think some of us accidentally turned independence into armor. And armor protects us, but it also prevents people from getting close. I hear women say all the time, I don't need a man. And honestly, most of the women I know don't. They can pay their own bills. They can assemble their own furniture. They can call the plumber. They can figure it out. They've been figuring it out for years. The question isn't whether you need someone. The question is, do you want someone? And if the answer is yes, then we have to be willing to make room for partnership. Because this is what I'm noticing. A lot of women say they want a partner, but what they actually want is someone who fits perfectly into their life they've already created without requiring them to adjust anything. No schedule changes, no compromises, no vulnerability, no inconvenience, no uncertainty, no sharing control, no emotional risk. And respectively, that's not partnership. That's an accessory. Real partnership requires space, it requires flexibility, it requires allowing another human being to matter. And that's hard, especially when you've spent years surviving on your own, especially when trusting people hasn't always gone well. And especially when being self sufficient became part of your identity. Because if I'm being real, sometimes it's easier to maintain control than it is to receive care. Sometimes it's easier to do everything ourselves than allow someone else to help. And sometimes independence feels safer than intimacy. And that's what we're going to explore today. Because before we go any further, I want to invite you into a quick pause. If you're driving, keep your eyes open, sis. But if you're somewhere safe and comfortable, take a slow breath in and exhale. Another breath in and release. Now ask yourself, what feels harder, taking care of myself or allowing someone else to take care of me? And just notice what comes up. No judgment, no fixing, just compassion and awareness. Pause and breathe. Okay, so here's the part that might sting a little, but I think it's important. If you're in a season where you're genuinely desiring partnership, I want you to grab a journal or a piece of paper or even open up the notes in your phone. And I want you to write out your ideal partner, not just a few traits, really write it out. How do they communicate? How do they handle conflict? What values do they have? What are their goals? What kind of lifestyle do they live? How emotionally mature are they? How do they treat people? How do they show up in relationship? Write it all. Get specific, sis. And then I want you to ask yourself one question. Would that person be attracted to you? Oof. I know, but stay with me because this isn't about criticizing yourself. It's about accountability. And if you're looking for someone emotionally available, are you emotionally available? If you're looking for someone who communicates well, Do you communicate well? If you're looking for someone who takes care of themselves, are you taking the best care of yourself? If you're looking for someone who's secure, kind, growth oriented, and intentional, are you actively cultivating those qualities too? Because sometimes we build these incredibly detailed wish lists and then never examine whether we're also becoming the kind of partner that we're seeking. The goal isn't perfection because none of us are perfect. We're all infallible human beings. The goal is really alignment. And while you're looking at that list, I want you to notice something else. How many of your requirements are actually values? And how many are attempts to maintain control? Because those are different things. Values sound more like I want someone kind. I want someone emotionally mature. I want someone who communicates honestly and transparently. I want someone whose life goals align with mine. Those are healthy and helpful. But control sounds like they must do everything exactly how I do it. They must fit perfectly into my life without disrupting anything. They must never disappoint me. They must eliminate all uncertainty. They must prove themselves before I become vulnerable. And sis, that's not a relationship. That's a job interview with impossible qualifications. Like, who in your life actually meets every single expectation? Sometimes we're not rejecting people because they're wrong for us. Sometimes we're rejecting people because they challenge our comfort. Allowing them in would require us to loosen our grip, to trust, to receive, to share space, to be seen. And that's scary. The irony is that many women have worked so hard to create lives where they no longer need anyone. And that's something to celebrate. But if you desire partnership, you may have to practice something many of us were never taught: interdependence. Not dependence, not losing yourself, not shrinking yourself, not settling. Interdependence, the ability to stand on your own while also allowing someone to stand beside you. And maybe that's the invitation today: not to lower your standards, not to settle, not to ignore red flags, but to ask yourself and reflect: am I creating space for the thing I say I want? Am I open to receiving love? Am I open to being cared for? Am I open to allowing another human being to matter in my life? Or am I unconsciously protecting myself from the very thing I'm hoping to find? Thank you for being here with me today, sis. And if this episode resonated with you, share it with another woman who's built a beautiful life for herself, but maybe wondering whether independence has quietly become a wall. And if you want more conversations like this about healing, growth, relationships, identity, and creating a life that feels aligned, be sure to follow and subscribe wherever you listen. Until next time, take the pause, tell the truth, make room for what you say you want. And remember, power isn't always found in doing more. Sometimes it's found in pausing long enough to allow yourself to receive.